The problem is that the DNC is so internally anti-democratic that they're not doing anything to promote platforms for potential future. Like, why, guys? Like, does anyone else think that might be a little bit damaging for democracy? The idea that, like, the entire Democratic Party, the apparatus of the party that is larger and stronger than any other Democratic Party in the world, represented by one 80-year-old man and no other potential candidate, to the point where we basically don't even have a primary. The idea that the DNC playing favorites is the same as like a rejection of democratic values is unironically reactionary rhetoric. You are downplaying the threat Republicans pose to democracy so much by equating these two things. Like, oh yeah, Republicans have like an on-the-books plan to destroy the country if they win the presidency again. But on the other hand, you know, the Democrats, they favor the incumbent candidate. Oh, really? Oh, it's shocking. Look. Do you think Joe Biden is the strongest candidate that Democrats could nominate for president in 2024? Among all voters, yes, he is 20%. But that's all voters. Among Democrats, it's 39 to 36. With a sizable chunk of like, oh, I don't know. Actually, just 5 IQ. What, are you kidding me? In an actual primary vote, in spite of every single piece of polling data indicating otherwise, in spite of the fact that Kennedy is literally threatening to run as an independent and Marianne Williamson polls like 3% of the vote, are you seriously telling me you think he would lose that primary? Actually, like lead paint. A genuine... So, like, even in an environment where Joe Biden is unchallenged, not even 2/5 of Democrats are willing to say he's the strongest candidate they could nominate for president in 2024. Like, yeah, this doesn't inspire confidence in me. No. You can't run off these polling numbers. Under 50 points on what poll? What are you talking about? From over a year out? How would you even know? By the time the polling is more relevant, the time for a primary has already passed. Like, the problem is, even if you think that Biden is the best one to go for, which he isn't, and voters agree, including Democrat voters, that they would rather another candidate than Biden. I really genuinely do not think that the polling that we've seen is very useful or representative. I just don't think we should care about the polling. Obviously, I would prefer it if we had a better candidate than Biden, but that's like always going to be the case, right? Like, obviously, I would always prefer a better candidate than any candidate we have, because then it would always be a better candidate. Biden's age does hurt him, but I don't know. I mean, it could be a lot worse. He could be Hillary. The problem is that it takes a lot of time and effort and investment to give political actors the prominence and the platform that could make them viable candidates in the future. That shit doesn't happen magically. As a party, the whole point of the DNC is to take people of like political interests, elevate them, give people access to what they say and what they have to say, and then allow their popularity and their effectiveness to sort themselves out. You have to be careful about primaries against an incumbent president, because if Biden won the presidency in 2020 and there was a primary in like 2023 and he actually lost the primary, it would cause a lot of really bitter factional infighting. People who sided with Biden over the person who ends up winning in the primary would feel pretty betrayed by that, and they would feel like the differences between the candidates might be severe enough that it sort of agitates their desire to vote. Primaries are good. I don't think primaries weaken the incumbent candidate. I don't think anyone who was going to vote for Biden would see him argue with, like, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg, and then think Pete Buttigieg was cool, but then Biden wins the primary, and then they decide not to vote for Biden. I don't think that's, like, a real thing. He's an incumbent, so he made his case with his first term. Like, he didn't need a primary to make his case. He did the primary back in 2020, and he's had a term as the president. 2020 had some pretty robust Democratic primaries, which ended with Joe Biden getting more votes than any other presidential candidate in history. What was it, like 82 million or something in 2020? He dealt with Elizabeth Warren, he dealt with Bernie, he dealt with Pete Buttigieg, he dealt with Kamala Harris, and then folded her under his wing for VP. And then he went on to get the most votes ever. You need more than just a year to challenge an incumbent president. You need a long time to set the stage for this. Joe Biden has been in politics since in dinosaur years. He's been here for millennia. He He was one of the senators who presided over military action against the Confederacy, or maybe for the Confederacy, honestly, with the friends he had early on. Yeah, like, this is so stupid. I feel like it's a sign of tremendous weakness for a party if their message is basically like, hey, a majority of our voters would prefer somebody else, but we're going with this guy anyway. No primary, not even gonna like promote anyone leading up to it. Like, this is a rookie mistake. Using polling more than a year out from the actual election as an actual indicator of popularity to suggest like, oh, well, he's 10 points down from his victory margin back in 2020. So that means like, I don't agree with that. Think of it like K-Fab, right? Like, it's like wrestling, It's not enough to just have one guy on top. In order to have like a satisfying narrative that people can relate to, something to hook, to engage, you have to have multiple people in the ring, so to speak. You have to have like multiple participants in the process, because otherwise it gets stale. That I agree with. But it takes a lot of time and money and planning and hard work to bring a candidate up to a level where they have a shot at the presidency. Even if you've somebody who, like, if they got the same amount of exposure as Biden, they would be more popular. Sure, that's fine. The question is, how do you get somebody more exposure than an incumbent president? The answer is you basically can't. It's not really doable. The problem is that the DNC is so internally anti-democratic that they're not doing anything to promote platforms for potential future. Like, why, guys? Like, does anyone else think that might be a little bit damaging for democracy? The idea that, like, the entire Democratic Party, the apparatus of the party that is larger and stronger than any other Democratic Party in the world, represented by one 80-year-old man and no other potential candidate, to the point where we basically don't even have a primary. The idea that the DNC playing favorites is the same as like a rejection of democratic values is unironically reactionary rhetoric. You are downplaying the threat Republicans pose to democracy so much by equating these two things. Like, oh yeah, Republicans have like an on-the-books plan to destroy the country if they win the presidency again. But on the other hand, the Democrats, they favor the incumbent candidate. Oh, really? Oh, well, it's shocking. To be fair, Biden is kind of weak. A majority of Democrat voters say they would rather somebody else be the main candidate. Like, we can't always accept the incumbent that the Democrats shove down our throat. He's too old. That's a legitimate
I think that's
concern.
Completely ridiculous. That's so dumb. Insane perspective. Insane. As an incumbent? Not just like on its own, it would be insane. But as an incumbent candidate, are you kidding me? Absolutely psychotic. Just.
Hi there. Thanks for watching to the end. Please like or subscribe to support independent investigative journalism and strange anime characters giving you the news.